What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of the Morning View. It's Friday. Yes, it's Friday. The end of another week. At the end of the month, really, isn't it? Look, it's the end of February, final day of the month, and there's plenty to get into, as always. It's always something, isn't there? There's always something in the world of Manchester United, even when we do get a win, even when there are other more pressing issues at Manchester United. Even when all that kind of stuff, we're going to be talking about the captain, Bruno Fernandes, and arguably the greatest captain of Manchester United history, Roy Keane, calling out the current Manchester United captain, who he had a lot to say, and it's generated a lot of conversation, hasn't it? It's generated a lot of conversation, a lot of debate. I mean, this sort of debate comes back and forth, isn't it? This, about Bruno. Is he a problem? Isn't he a problem? We'll be chatting about it. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As you can see in the top right-hand corner there, nearly 189,500 on the road to 190K. Then we'll be 10K away. We'll be on 190K on that long road to 200. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner, click the like button. We're already halfway. We're already halfway to 100 likes. Now over halfway to 100 likes. I can see everyone in the chat already getting their opinions in about this Bruno Fernandes situation. Ridwan says FA Cup weekend indeed. Simon McGill's in there. I can see Joe Blackman's in there. Yes, he's been in there early. Tabrez is in there as well. Yes. Look, he says right there. Let's get to the likes. Mr. Aston's in there, says good morning. Ponty says good morning, everyone. Everyone's getting involved. Everyone's getting involved in there. Daniel Luciano says big up Owen, big up Daniel, big up Kristen. Yes. And there's already, look, Tabrez saying Roy's wrong. Some people are saying Roy's right. Should we just get into this? Should we just get into this? Let's get into this. Roy Keane rant. I mean, Roy Keane, look, his punditry style is very refreshing in the day of, a lot of pundits sometimes sort of dancing around stuff, protecting their friends, or sort of doing sensationalism for the sake of sensationalism. Sometimes you get that from pundits, don't you? You like your Tim Sherwoods or your Gabby Bonhors, they just say shit for the sake of it. Roy Keane's Roy Keane, isn't he? He's his own man. He'll say things how he sees it. He doesn't really hold back. It's sort of brutal, transparent honesty, and we like him for that, don't we? We like him for that. But yesterday rather, the newest episode of Stick to Football, which is their sort of weekly podcast on the Overlap, the likes of Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Jill Scott, Roy Keane, Ian Wright, sometimes Wayne Rooney's in there, sometimes they have guests on, talk about a variety of topics, talk about a variety of different happenings in the week of football, and obviously with a lot of ex-Manchester United players being involved in that project. I mean, it's Gary Neville's company, isn't it? They talk about Manchester United a lot. And naturally, it came up to Manchester United. And Roy Keane didn't hold back when it comes to the current Manchester United team, the current Manchester United squad, and the current Manchester United captain. Now, I'm going to read out the quotes because obviously you can't play it here. I wish we could play it here because my reading of this is never going to do it justice. I would recommend absolutely, because obviously the quotes have been doing the rounds in all of the papers, all the websites, on social media, but you've got to watch the clip because the clip does give you the fullest context. The clip really does show just how angry Roy Keane gets. How angry he gets during this whole exchange, because he gets really, really, really angry. Like the eyes start bulging, and Ian Wright's kind of defending Bruno Fernandes. Roy Keane's not having it at all. So we'll read out what was said here. So it's quite a lengthy exchange. So Roy Keane says, you go back to the recruitment and the team, show a bit of fight, a bit of speed, a bit of quality in your play. They draw at Everton and it's like they've won the cup. It's effing bizarre. Even the fans. I see fans at matches and they sing for Bruno. I see these boys. I think they're effing imposters. Now, what you would say actually with that, nothing too crazy, right? Nothing too crazy there. It's something we've all said, isn't it? It's something we've all said looking at this team. Bunch of imposters, don't show anything, don't show any grit, any determination, don't show any intensity. Then they've got the nerve to sort of come out after getting some results and then, point to their heads or say, yeah, it's about wanting it. It's about that intensity. It's about that. I'm listening to it so far. I'm going, I got no problem with that. It's not far off from what we've all really been saying all season, is it? He continues by saying, and then this is when Ian Wright jumps in and sort of goes, no, not Bruno. And then Roy Keane flips his lid. He goes, righty. I've had enough of that rubbish. You watch Arsenal every week. I'm focusing more on United. Sit and watch a game with him. We watched Bruno. We watched in the Cup against Leicester. We watched him at Everton last Saturday. People are pretending to be closing people down. He carried on by saying, they're 15th in the league and he's saving them. Praise the Lord. Because Ian Wright was saying that, without Bruno, Manchester United would be even lower in the league at the moment. They'd be even lower in the table currently right now. And he says, Ian Wright said to Roy Keane, he's talented though. He's talented. And he said, talent is not enough. You keep coming back to talent. Bruno is a talented player, but talent is not enough. He says, who are you in the dressing room with? You were in the dressing room with Tony Adams. Tony Adams was this. Tony Adams was that because he was a fighter. You've got young players who have to look at somebody and go, I like what he does. They all can't put the ball in the top of the net from 25 yards. I get that. But you want someone who's going, lads, are you with me? Are you with me? Leadership is about action. Ian Wright then kind of pushed back, said, maybe he's not that kind of captain, Roy. I'm with you. But what he's doing in respects of saving you, playing the pass, the goal, if Bruno's not there, United are in a relegation battle. Roy Keane pushed back and says, forget the board and all that for a second. The players who walk on the pitch, who do you start pointing fingers at? At some point, you players have to look at themselves. Look at the person in the mirror. So who would you want to start at with Man United? The goalkeeper, Maguire. Would you have a go at Maguire? Or are you too pally with people? Which was quite funny because then Ian Wright sort of rolls his eyes. He goes, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. He says, who then? I've asked you a question. Who would you start going, he's got to do a bit more? When they go out on the pitch, show some courage, want the ball. When you close somebody down, close them down properly. Let me tell you something. When you close somebody down, this is what I call a bluffer. I'm closing you down, but I'm not really closing you down. And you pass it. I've done my bit. Fuck off. Excuse my language. Now, this generated, as one would expect, a lot of discussion, a lot of discourse on social media, a lot of chat. What did I think of it? And let me know your let me know your thoughts in the chat about this. Let me know what you make of it. Let me know your opinions of it. Like anything, I think it's a bit of a multifaceted issue. That there's different parts of it that I think you have to break down. I think take a step back overall and look at Manchester United's problems. God, there's so many. There's so many problems. There's so many issues. And I think about, and I do get what Roy Keane is saying. In the sense of, if you've got a team that is, underperforming massively, if you've got a team that's not hitting the levels that they're meant to do, and on the pitch, he's sort of talking about underperforming, when you're looking to points of blame or you're looking for people to do more, where do you go to? Do you go to, young players? Do you go with new signings, or do you go with the senior pros? Do you go with the captain? Do you go to people like the manager? Do you go to them first, or do you go to others? The issue is what I push back on is, you look at this week, look at this past week, specifically after the Ipswich game on Wednesday. you come out of that game, we needed to win. Absolutely needed to win that game. And we nearly didn't because of individual errors. There are a lot of players in that Man United team and squad that are nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. And I don't know, it just feels a bit strange that coming out of a game or coming out of a week where we could have easily lost both the games we played, but we didn't end up losing any. And we're picking on the player that scored a goal against Everton, got like 3 assists in the game against Ipswich. Should we not be more focusing on, again, Andre Onana in goal, Rasmus Højlund up front, Diogo Dalot at right back? I mean, these people that, you could even make a thing with Bruno Fernandes and say it's not been his best season. But with them, I mean, if we had 11 Bruno Fernandeses in the team, I think we'd be better off than we are right now. So I think that, it's about, I'm not attached to any one player. I've mentioned this before. Not at all. I'm not attached to any one player. I'm not attached to, as I've said before, anyone can go, anyone can get it. But look where we are in the league. So Player FC, what have you, I don't care. I really don't. If Manchester United decided tomorrow that Bruno Fernandes was finished and done and they wanted to move him on this past summer, if they decided that Bruno, when he was going, I'm thinking about options and what have you, and they said, all right, then you can go, then I don't have a problem with that. I think, as we've seen with sort of the De Gea and Onana situation, it's all about who you replace them with. And sometimes it is a case of be careful what you wish for, as we've seen with the exit of the goalkeeper and what have you. You get my point, is that it's not necessarily about the person leaving, it's about the player that you bring in. But anyone can go. I don't have a problem with that at all. It's just, there's bigger issues than Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United. And I think it is very much be a case of be careful what you wish for, in the sense of, all right, if we take Bruno out this team, those underperforming players are still there. And since Bruno Fernandes has come in back in 2020, he has been one of our highest performing players and more consistent players during this time period. If you want to focus on stats, his stats are up there with anyone in the league during that time period. If you don't want to focus on stats, during that period of time, he's been one of our most consistent players. And if you want to point to, well, what have Manchester United done during that time period? You go, yeah, exactly. We're in our banter era. In our banter era, we're shit. It used to be, and on top of that, and this was a good point that I saw on social media yesterday too, that with Bruno, what you do tend to find is the goalposts with him get shifted a lot. They get absolutely shifted a lot. And it's not to say that Bruno's immune from criticism. It's not to say that. There are absolutely faults in Bruno Fernandes and criticisms of Bruno Fernandes that I think are absolutely valid. You can have a pop at him for, when he's moaning at teammates, or you can have a pop at him for rolling around on the floor. I'm with you there. And you can have a pop at him. I've had a pop at him for stupid decisions on the pitch. When he got sent off twice earlier on this season, which, if you're going to be honest with Roy Keane, he's probably not going to have a go at him for getting sent off. Roy Keane's done it plenty of times. But when it comes to, other stuff, bad decisions on the pitch, of course, I'm with you. I've made those criticisms of him too. But still, he's there every single game. He steps up. When he comes out after the game, does the interviews, never makes excuses. On top of that, people are constantly moving the goalposts regarding his time at Manchester United. At first, it's Fernandes. It's Fernandes, right? Well, actually, he's not really contributing that much. He's just taking penalties. He's just taking penalties. So his numbers aren't that good. Then it becomes, well, actually, he's not even really a 10. He's effectively playing as a striker, in Ollie's team. So, that they don't really count. Then it's, well, actually, he's always trying to do. He's always trying to do sort of Hollywood passes, isn't he? Really, you know what I mean? He's never playing simple. He's never playing simple enough. You know, he doesn't do that. And then it's, oh, well, I can't actually control a football match. Can't play deeper. I don't even like him playing deeper. But we've seen in the last few games, actually, he can play deeper. He's taken the ball off the centre backs against Ipswich in the week. And then he's a bad leader. He's not that much of a leader, actually, really. Even though for years, we were saying, get the captaincy off Harry Maguire, get the captaincy off him. And naturally, it found out that actually the perfect person to put the captaincy on was Bruno Fernandes. There was no other person at that time that the captaincy was going to go on, and everyone was saying get it off Maguire. And if anything, the hilarious thing is now, once the captaincy's off Harry Maguire, people like to talk about how much of a leader Harry Maguire is. Great leader. Well, he wasn't saying that when he was the captain, you know. And remember before that as well, yeah, but what's he won? What's he won at Manchester United? You know, you can't be a good captain until you've won anything. Well, he won Carabao Cup and FA Cup. He was the captain on the day twice. He wasn't officially the captain when it was the Carabao, but he was the captain when it came to the FA Cup. And he played really well in that final, actually, didn't he? Bruno Fernandes got an assist for the winning goal for Kobbie Mainoo. You know, so it goes back to really, you know, what do you define? You know, what's your definition of leadership when it comes to it? You know, what's your definition? Because people have different definitions of leadership. People have different definitions of what they think a captain should be. Some people think that, you know, that a captain should be, you know, Roy Keane-esque, talking about, you know, you got to go at players, you know, lead by example, get angry. He spoke about Tony Adams there. He's a fighter. He's a warrior. He's this, and this. Some people, when it comes to captaincy, it's just more about the sort of leading by performance. The best player in the team, they're the captain. So everyone looks to them as an example of how to play and how to handle yourself. Sometimes it's not even the best player in the team. It's the most experienced player in the team. If you're an experienced player, you're the captain because you've been there, you've seen it, you've done it, you understand the club inside and out. It's not so much on the pitch, it's off the pitch. You know, your captain might not even play all the time. Your captain's more often on the bench, but it unites the dressing room. There's loads of different ways. There's no fixed way, really, of being a captain, is there? There's not. It evolves. Like, if anything, it evolves. So I think that, again, I'm here for some of the criticisms of Bruno Fernandes. I am, you know, I am here for some of the criticisms of Bruno. I've criticized him myself on a lot of things, but I just think this sort of weird, you know, the fact that it's Friday, 28th of February today, we're coming out of, you know, a win on Wednesday, which they're few and far between this season with Manchester United. And are we really talking about if Bruno's good enough to be the captain, or if, you know, the big conversations about Bruno Fernandes, of all people, you know, again, Onana, Højlund, Dalot, they can carry on, you know, Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, Casemiro, you know, again, the Glazers, Ineos, you know, there are the issues at Manchester United, you know, the PSR, what have you, are so bigger. Like, this is, once more, the house is on fire, and we're looking at the wallpaper in the living room and going, I don't know if it really pulls I don't know if it really brings the room together. The thing's on fucking fire, really. It's just ridiculous. It's mad. And I understand that anyone can go. We're a massively underperforming team, a million%, massively underperforming team. We're shocking. We're shit. And you could, the argument about anyone, you know, being good enough at Manchester United when you're in 15th or 16th is a valid one. But it just feels like, why are we focusing on this? Why are we focusing on this? And okay, I understand, you know, I think Keane's point more is that he's almost the representative of the team on the pitch. Therefore, he should take that element of extra blame or extra responsibility, that's fine. But to sort of call Bruno Fernandes, a bluffer or not a leader at a time where for the last 5 years, he's been our most consistent player, whether you like him or not, and whether you think that's a symptom of Manchester United's issue, is that he's our most consistent player and he's not good enough, and you'll see. Go again, to quote Roy Keane, really? That's the conversation we're having right now is Bruno Fernandes. When you've got players on massive contracts at Manchester United that don't play games, when you've got players at Manchester United that are just happy to sit on the bench, you've got players at Manchester United that are going out and doing interviews, off the pitch issues. When do you hear that about Bruno Fernandes? When do you hear about off the pitch issues? When do you hear about Bruno Fernandes not being available for games? When do you hear about Bruno Fernandes causing problems off the pitch? Don't hear that. That's what I'd like to see in my captain. That's what I would like to see in my captain. Would you not? Yeah, you have. It's if we're in another position. If we're in another position and then we're actually playing well or getting up the league or we're competing, then you want to talk about, actually, is he the right leader to get you over the line? Fair enough. But it's nowhere near a level of priority at the moment to have, I think, this amount of scrutiny, to have this amount of debate over it. It's mad. It's mad. And some of the stuff as well, we've got to remember about Bruno Fernandes, some of the stuff that's said about him, it just isn't even actually true. One of the biggest things that hurt Bruno as the captain was the Gary Neville comment. Remember when we got battered by Liverpool 7-0, and it was Bruno's asking to come off. Wasn't even true. Wasn't even true. As someone points out there in the chat, that the Harry Maguire stuff, granted, I don't think it was when he was the captain, but yeah, the off-the-field stuff when it happened in Greece. Lots of players in our team have had off-the-field stuff as well. You don't hear that. You don't see that from Bruno, model professional. So some of those things about Bruno, and they're just not true. And I think we should see that once more, that if you want to get rid of Bruno, or you think that he's not good enough for the team, or actually it's what did I used to say, net negative, fine, no problem. Don't have an issue with that. Don't have an issue with that. One, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but two, I would say, as we have seen with like the De Gea stuff, with other stuff, all right, if you get rid of them, who are you going to replace them with? And when the person who does come in doesn't contribute to the level that Bruno Fernandes does, we will then also be saying, oh man, we're not really creating that many chances, or we're not really scoring that many goals. And we're not even doing that now, by the way, let alone if we took someone actually is creating stuff out of this team. Oh my goodness me. Oh my word. It would be mad. But look, it's a polarizing issue. It's a divisive issue, because it's always been with Bruno. He's always a polarizing issue. He's always a divisive issue. But and as I've said before, I think we're too reliant on Bruno. That's the other part of it. My frustration, probably my biggest frustration with Bruno Fernandes is that we have become too reliant on him, in the sense that when he is having a bad game, or when he's having a poor game, which again he has, there is this feeling like you can't take him off. You can't take Bruno off. Not necessarily because he's untouchable. You can't take him off because he's like the one player that actually can create something out of nothing, or he's one player that does show up in big moments in games and does score goals, or does get an assist out of nothing even when he's playing bad. And also then you turn to the bench and you go, actually, we don't really have that other player in this squad that we lean on like that, or has that ability to do something like that. So we have to leave him on the pitch, which that's the problem. That is a massive problem. We don't have anyone else. We don't have the alternative, and we don't have those other creative outlets or goal scoring outlets. And that's a club issue. And it would be interesting to see, wouldn't it, if we did have an alternative in the squad, a legitimate one, not like, oh, play Eriksen there. I mean, he's leaving on a free at the end of the season and his legs are gone. I mean, a legitimate, proper alternative, then it would be interesting. And I think that debate would maybe hold a bit more weight and a bit more water. But right now, you know, where Manchester United are and what we have and don't have, and, you know, what other leaders do we have in that team, realistically? What other, who legitimately else could be the captain in that Manchester United squad at the moment? Who? You know? If you're saying about Leacher, of course he was injured, but just a few months ago people are saying like Leacher's not even that. Leacher ain't that. No, he's not that. Go through, I mean, De Ligt's been captain. He was captain at Ajax, new to the squad maybe, but even people get hit with about De Ligt, you know, is he actually that? I mean, even with De Ligt at the moment, the narrative's trying to change surrounding him, isn't it? Oh, was he an Ineos signing? He was a Dan Ashworth signing. He was this, he was that. Midfield. Could look at anyone in the other one in midfield. Who it would be? It's not going to be anyone that's an attacker for Manchester United at all. I mean, it's bereft of leaders. It's completely bereft of leaders. So that would have to be Bruno. Super chats in. Jeremy says, Owen always forgets to say hello to me. Hello, Jeremy. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate the contribution. Big up. Dominic says, FRX players, all of them, they make it worse. I do kind of push back a little bit on that. Look, I think that it was something that Ruben Amorim was saying in his press conference the other day, wasn't it? When he was sort of saying that these players hear a lot in the media, or they hear a lot on social media, or they hear a lot in the papers, and that puts extra pressure on them, this, that, and the other. When it comes to our ex-players, look, they are, you know, they can say what they want, really. Especially if it's their opinion. I mean, as is always the case, I think sometimes, you know, people have to realize, don't you, that just because necessarily you played at a high level doesn't mean that your football takes are always going to be great, is it? Or always going to be agreeable. There are plenty of ex-pros that I think, go talk nonsense, talk absolute nonsense. Plenty of ex-United pros that I think talk nonsense. Some that do well, some that aren't ex-United players that I think talk well about United. Some that do talk about well about United. Sometimes you see ex-United pros and they're very, very, very biased towards Manchester United. Yeah, it is what it is. I go back to play for Manchester United. It is unlike playing for most other clubs in the world, you know, bar maybe, you know, sort of Real Madrid, Barcelona. I'm just trying to think of other clubs. Maybe you can say in the chat, not because of what we're doing, what Real Madrid or Barcelona have been doing in recent years or anything like that, but more just the pressure, the expectation, and the media scrutiny. It's above and beyond, you know, anything else. And if you don't have that ability to handle that, or you don't have that ability to manage that, then you probably shouldn't be playing for Manchester United. And that's when I go back to Bruno. You know, these conversations about Bruno Fernandes happen all the time. Or they raise their heads. They go quiet for a bit, and then they sort of raise their heads for a little bit. You very rarely, I can think, see Bruno get like really rattled by that. You know, do you if he did an interview, he might. If he did an interview and he was asked about it, he'd probably just say, you know, do the line of, carry on, you know, try and lead. The performances haven't been good enough this season, but we'll just try and keep doing, you know, we'll just try and keep doing what we're doing and keep trying to pick up points and get better, blah, blah, blah. You know, but it's part of the territory, isn't it? I think if you're a Manchester United player and you get paid the big money, that's why I pushed back on that story the other day about Sir Dave Brailsford. He didn't, you know, like people bringing up Manchester United's past accomplishments under Sir Alex because he felt that it put too much pressure and expectation on the current players or the current team, you know, the current iteration of what the club was. And again, you go back to, well, if you can't handle it, then you shouldn't be here. When you sign up to become a Manchester United player, executive, or whatever, you sign up to being judged against its history, because you can't ignore it. You can't run away from the past. You have to embrace it. You have to embrace it, and you have to try and find a way to carry that burden of expectation, that amount of expectation that comes from the fans, that comes from ex-players, ex-pros. And look, that's not a novel thing to have people that played 20 years ago think that the current generation are soft and lack leadership. I mean, it happens every generation. You know, the generation before the lot of the class of 92 probably looked at them going, nowadays, you know, we'll look at them with their fancy cars. When I was playing, no, they're just too protected. They're too protected. It's the same. It's the same. That's why the phrase "back in my day" exists. Everyone thinks the new generation can't handle it. Everyone thinks the new generation can't have that. You know, so you've got to just take it with the territory. It's part of being a Manchester United player. Biggie Third says, I'm with Keane. Players glide past him with ease. Bembe says, who would Manchester United want as captain next season? Well, that's the thing. I mean, who? If there was a legitimate alternative for that, then I'd be like, I'd have the discussion, but I don't see a legitimate alternative in terms of, you know, tenure, in terms of performance, in terms of off the pitch. I mean, this is the other part. I mean, it was Kieran Maguire mentioned it in the interview with Flex the other day. And it's when it goes back to what's your definition of leadership? Because some people's definition of leadership and captaincy isn't just about what happens on the pitch. It's about what happens off the pitch as well. When Bruno Fernandes found out that, was it employees would have to, you know, was it pay their own way or pay their own tickets for the FA Cup final? He offered to pay for it all and was told by Manchester United, no, don't do that because it makes Ineos look bad. It's bad optics. Sounds like a captain to me. You know, that sounds like leadership. That sounds like captaincy. You know, a senior player standing up, trying to say, no, that's not right, and I'm going to try and fix that. No. And Amanor says, what about the other leaders in the team, e.g. Mount? Well, I don't know if I describe Mason Mount as a leader. I mean, God, I don't know if I'd describe Mason Mount as a leader at all. But that's my point, is whilst I wouldn't look at him as a leader, I would look at him as if to say, I think there might be a time and place for a Bruno Fernandes conversation, a legitimate one, and talking about better options, leadership, and maybe moving him on, and that's totally fine. And again, because I'm a Man United fan. I'm not a Bruno fan. I'm not a like a Rashford fan or a Sancho fan or Garnacho fan or anything like that. Not at all. So, you know, in the future, if we want to have that conversation and Man United decide to move him on, no problem. No issue with it. But it's got far bigger and more pressing concerns. So let's say hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, Bruno Fernandes at the end of this season, they go, you know what, Bruno, you're not right to be the captain anymore. Takes the captaincy off him, gives it to De Ligt. All right, De Ligt, you're the next captain. Okay. What happens with United then? And then it's actually, no, Bruno, right? Okay, you're getting sold. Bruno goes, and we bring in, I don't know, who are we going to bring in? We're linked to in January. We're going to bring in Danny Olmo. We're going to bring in Olmo. Okay, he can't get registered at Barcelona, and he comes in. Okay, is Onana going? Well, you know, he's difficult. You know, PSR. So Onana's still there. All right, we get a striker. Yeah, but we're still, you know, that we still got the debt. Yeah. Okay, Luke Shaw's still at the club. Yeah. Well, we can't sell him because, you know, no one's going to buy him because, you know, injuries. Mason Mount's still at the club. Yeah, he's still injured. Yeah, no, can't get rid of him. Well, he's been injured for 2 years, so no one's gonna have that. You go, oh, okay. So, you know, we're better now. Bruno's gone. We're better. Like, it's not as simple as that. It's just not. It isn't. And as is always the case, once Bruno does go, if he does go, then it will be will be someone else, won't it? The next captain. Oh, they won't have leadership. Oh, that person's not a leader. Okay, right. Let's say it was De Ligt. De Ligt, next captain. Give it 18 months. Give it 18 months. Well, couple of mistakes here, and yeah, well, there's a reason. You remember Paul Scholes? Oh, well, there's a reason you're leaving Bayern Munich and Juventus. Maybe he's not captain material. Actually, maybe he's not captain material. And you know what it is actually, I think as well, with the way that Roy Keane was sort of talking in it, I think he almost did himself a bit of a disservice because he kind of lost his head completely. Because I do think some of the criticisms are fair. I do think some of the criticisms that he's making of Bruno are fair because there are legitimate ones. Of course, there are legitimate criticisms of Bruno. And granted, he's talking about the fake closing down. I've seen a lot, if not all, of the Man United players in that team do the fake closing down. And some of them aren't even here anymore, right? Some of them aren't even here anymore. They've done the fake closing down. I don't know if that's just Bruno Fernandes. I thought when you lose your head like that and you're sort of screaming and shouting, you kind of lose, the real gist of what he was trying to say. And for me, it's just, I don't know. Biggie Third says, you were lenient on Bruno. We saw Gerrard play for 2 decades in an average Liverpool side, and he almost never had a bad game. Too many mistakes for me. Again, appreciate the contribution, Biggie Third, but to say that Steven Gerrard played for 2 decades for Liverpool, he never had a bad game. Never had a bad game. Of course he did. Of course players have bad games. I mean, Steven Gerrard, I remember what slipping given against Chelsea, or the one was it Highbury? He passes the ball back to Thierry Henry, goes round the goalkeeper himself. Steven Gerrard against Manchester United. I remember he might have been on the pitch. I think he came on at half time and he stamped on which was a United player. He gets sent off immediately. Quite a few red cards actually as well. So again, we always try and just completely revise history with this stuff. You know what I mean? Gerrard, he never had. And by the way, we'll do the same thing with Bruno Fernandes. Give it 10 years. Give it 10 years. Bruno, he never had a bad game at Manchester United. I mean, or even if you say almost if it's Danny says he didn't say never. But come on, the point that was trying to be made there. The point that was trying to be made there. Come on, let's be honest. And as bad as Liverpool were during Steven Gerrard's time, did they ever get to this level of low, finishing 15th or possibly 16th in the Premier League? Really? Come on. We can cherry pick moments. It's just not a good example. It isn't. It's like everyone has a bad game. Roy Keane in his time, he never had a bad. He almost never had a bad game at Manchester United. Well, of course, he's a football player. Of course, And if you want to go into different competitions and say, well, because I can already tell what the thing will be. Well, Steven Gerrard, he won Champions League. Well, okay, then he didn't win a Premier League. Terrible captain. He didn't win the Prem. He didn't win the Premier League. That's also the issue you have when you go down that route. When you go down that route of, but what's he won? Remember, I literally mentioned it earlier on. You can shift the goalposts wherever you want with that kind of stuff. That's just what it is. That's literally what it is. You can shift the goalposts wherever. Well, he's won the Champions League. Zlatan never won the Champions League, did he? He's pretty shit then, isn't he? He can't be that good. Never did it. So, it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, he's never that good, really. So, Gerrard, he won Champions League, makes him better than Bruno. So we can all compare competitions, can't we? We can do that for whatever we want. So you get John Obi Macau the other day talking about Jamie Carragher, and he's kind of right when he says, this guy's saying that AFCON doesn't matter. So this guy's telling everyone how to win the Premier League every single week. He's never won the Premier League every single week. Hey, Ronaldo's never won the World Cup, as mentioned in the chat there. Kind of not really that great then, is he? So doesn't really, Wayne Rooney never won World Cup or Euros, so he's pretty shit. Never did that. So kind of not great. Original R9 never won the Prem. Didn't really. So can't really feel that good. So he didn't really, didn't really get it. So it just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. And by the way, that Jamie Carragher discourse, just whilst I'm there on that point, is just such a load of fucking rubbish. And I must say, some of the takes that I have seen on social media over the last sort of 24 to 48 hours to suggest that AFCON isn't a major or important competition because effectively because they don't watch it. Because guess what? They might not be from an African country. It's just ridiculous. I mean, talk about ridiculous and offensive. I mean, it's just nonsense. Absolutely. Just to completely disregard as well the opinions or viewpoints of almost like a continent full of people. It's just ridiculous. And you can say about, the quality of the tournament or the quality of player in the tournament or what have you. Fair enough. Isn't that maybe a sort of a generational thing? Who's to say? In 20 years' time, maybe, there might be a whole bunch of, just really amazing African players. Frankly, you look at the amount of players that play in the Euros or Copa America, that are players of African descent who could have actually probably played for an African country and then be like, the standard's rubbish. It's bollocks, isn't it? It's just, it's a load of rubbish. So, yeah. And again, the amount of players that play in AFCON, that play in Europe's top 5 leagues or what have you, it's just stupid. Just absolute nonsense. And again, it just when you've got was it Joey Barton supporting Jamie Carragher? Jamie's right. You go, oh shit, I'm on the wrong side of this one. Yeah, and I did think that the John Obi Macau reaction was hilarious. You get last World Cup, you get Morocco get to the latter stages. Yeah, but AFCON ain't that good. It's just stupid, absolute stupid. And I just didn't get that. But yes, going back to the Bruno Fernandes stuff, I disagree with what Roy Keane's saying, but look, of course, what he says does carry weight, right? It does carry weight because he's one of Manchester United's greatest captains. I'm of the viewpoint that there's a lot more to address first. There's a lot more to address first, and there's a lot more to look at first before the intense focus, I think, has to go on to Bruno Fernandes. But that's just my feelings on it. How many likes are we currently at the moment? We're not even at 250. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get to 300, 400. And also be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner. You know what to do as we head towards the weekend. Of course, it's FA Cup weekend, isn't it, folks? It's FA Cup weekend. Man United facing Fulham at Old Trafford on Sunday. I tell you now, folks, I'm going to be bloody tired. I've got an Elimination Chamber watch along late Saturday night / early Sunday morning. 1 a.m. that starts. And then I think Man United versus Fulham is, 4:30? 4:30 kickoff. So I'll be live at some point before then. And also, guys, I've got some bad news. Some bad news. First of all, can I get just like a 1 in the chat for everyone just to confirm that they're sitting down? Because I've got some bad news. I've got some really, really bad news, guys. I'm just going to wait to the confirmation that everyone's sitting down. Okay. So I was in bed last night, and you know when you sit there, my mind's kind of drifting off. And then something just sort of popped into my head, just went boom. I went full on like Don Robbie. I'm there. I'm nearly sort of going to sleep, and then I sort of went.
No, wait a minute. Wait.
I remember doing the match view with KG on Wednesday, and I said, "Oh, just you can go into Best of Enemies on Friday with Expressions and Don Robbie, and Arsenal drew, Spurs lost, and we won. So you can go in and sort of do your thing." And he went, "No, I'm out of the country. I'm in Portugal." And I went, and it didn't really register me at the time. And I thought, well, if he can't do Best of Enemies because he's out of the country, then I thought, when's he coming back then? When's KG coming back? So I messaged him last night, and I went, I said, "What's the plan for like Trinity tomorrow and stuff like that?" And he went, "I'm out of the country." I was, "You out the country?"
Hold on, wait a minute.
So I sent him another message. I said, "Well, when are you going to be back?" He went, "I'm going to be back on Sunday. I land, and I'll find out if we're in the FA Cup or not." I went, so you're telling me KG's out the country and I'm doing a solo match for you? We're fucking out. Guys, it's over. I can't handle that level of. The record is the record. It's done. He's out the country. I'm doing it solo. We're screwed. It's guys. I didn't even know. I didn't even know. This was late on. This was late. It's over. Like I mean, I don't. We'll have a match preview going out tomorrow, but it's like finding out what happens in your favorite show before it's even aired. We know. We know what it's done. Finished. I thought we had this conversation. I thought we had this conversation, KG. Don't leave the country. Not during a match weekend. Not when there's a game. I mean, do it during a Premier League weekend. If anything, we're used to losing then. Not FA Cup weekend. We haven't got much left. Ian Beale settings. All we've got left this season is the FA Cup and the Europa League, and then he leaves the country, and I have to do a solo match view on a day where we have to win. I mean, I believe the last time this happened, we did technically win. Was that Southampton? I think it might have been Southampton. But yeah. I don't know. So we're gonna have to deal with that somehow, folks, this weekend. Danny DeFita says, "I knew this bad form was all KG's fault." Yeah. Biggie Third says, "Owen, you're being dishonest. I never said he was perfect. Liverpool was never this bad because Gerrard wouldn't have allowed it with his performances." I disagree. I don't think I'm being dishonest. You said that almost never had a bad game was what you said, wasn't it? Almost never had a bad game, yeah. On this 2 decades, an average Liverpool side, and he almost never had a bad game. Too many mistakes for me. I mean, literally, Steven Gerrard, to sort of suggest that he did not make mistakes or almost never had a bad game, you're being dishonest, Biggie Third. That's being dishonest. Okay, absolutely. And Steven Gerrard, if you want to talk about playing in bad sides or average sides, played in some shitty sides. Roy Hodgson, he missed a penalty, put it over the bar. Next game, Roy Hodgson got sacked. Do we want to bring that one up? Or is this not easy, is it? Let's just not do that. There's literally the clip. They're playing Blackburn Rovers at Ewood Park, and it's like they cut to the camera, and it even looks like Steven Gerrard almost does like the thing of going, Roy Hodgson, or what shall I do? Puts it over the bar. That's what he does. Like, no. So don't accuse me of being dishonest, because I think you're probably being dishonest with that one. Going, Steven Gerrard wouldn't have allowed Liverpool to play badly of his performances. And to then, in the first one, say that you almost never had a bad game, and you're criticising Bruno for too many mistakes. Slippy G, of all people. Slippy G, of all people, to say there are too many mistakes. Come on, Biggie Third. Come on. I disagree. Amanor says, report KG to HR, please. Oh, wait, you are HR in disgrace. Well, no, I didn't. I thought it would have come through the proper channels is what it would have come through, but no, it didn't. So yeah, KG's out of the country. We'll see how that goes. Maybe if we can get round it on sort of a technicality, perhaps. Maybe if we can get on sort of a technicality, if I can maybe get like KG on the phone at some point, does that mean he's still out the country? Is KG out the country? There's no way we can get that. Damn. Well, just I'm never one to be an advocate of cyberbullying or abuse or anything like that. But I would say let KG know. Let KG know what he's done. Let KG know what he's done to this Manchester United team. Let KG know what he's done to all of us. Because it's on him, isn't it? It's on him. Reckless delegation, leader, and he does that. I don't know. I'll bring it up with him later on today, because as far as I'm aware, there is going to be a Trinity today. And as far as I'm aware, he is going to be on it. He is going to be on today's episode of the Trinity. I think. So we'll bring it up. We'll bring it up to him and say, KG, why have you done this to us? I can't believe you've just completely killed us off like this. We'll bring it up today. That'll be coming out at 7 p.m. What's going to be coming tomorrow? Tomorrow, there's going to be a match preview, as I mentioned, Flex and myself. And then Sunday, of course, it will be match day. So we'll have the full match day experience. There'll be road trip. There'll be the match view with myself. Also, again, not sure when I'll go live for that one, because I'll have to sort of like salivate my eyes open, I think, after the night before. Monster is my friend. Energy drinks are my friend. Maybe I'll just be very energetic. The last time I did a match view after a WWE thing, that was after the Royal Rumble. We played Brighton and we lost. That wasn't good either. To be fair, the records aren't great, are they? They're not. So I'll be live at the weekend for that one too. And of course, we'll have all the reactions outside Old Trafford and all that fun stuff as well. Anyway, guys, have a good Friday, and we'll see you again later on with the Trinity. I'm out of here. Peace.